I want people to be well fed and well nourished. I'd say that we are overly fed and undernourished.
Everyone knows that food is cool. No secret. Eat that food with a bowl and spoon. Lick that spoon. Everyone knows that food is cool. No secret. Eat that food with a bowl and spoon.
My name is Ellen Swartzfager. My husband and I, Jeremy, started Footprints Farm about 15 years ago. We have 3 amazing kiddos, Elsie, Isaac, and Hannah. Elsie's 16, Isaac is going to be 14 this summer, and Hannah is 11. And then we have 2 full-time workers, and then about 4 to 5 high schoolers that are part-time with us on the farm. We centerpiece on pastured meats. So we continue to rotate and care for the animals outside. Chicks start in the brooder, but then once they reach 3 weeks, they head then out to the fields so that they then can be on pasture. They are basically in a safe greenhouse structure that moves every day. And so that's kind of the philosophy of the farm. It's like it's a rotating piece of artwork, right? So they'll impact one portion one day and then be off of it because we want them to leave their manure, but then they need to move away from their manure and impact another spot. And so that's the flow, right? Same with cows, same with pigs, and then same with turkeys and ducks. So all of those, they rotate. The egg layers would also equally be that same. They all look a little different in how we do that, but that's what we do. My ultimate goal is to heal Western Pennsylvania from the inside out with amazing pastured meats. We started into this with our campus ministers way back when his dad died from cancer, and they started asking why, and then dove into the food scene, understanding that food impacted so much of our health. And so that kind of took them down a rabbit hole, and we just enjoyed following, but then started understanding more. There were 2 kind of aha moments for me with food and health. One was with teeth. I kept asking, I was like, if God created us to live 80 to 100, why are our teeth not lasting that long? And I never thought about the
really
question.
Good question.
I know, but I never thought about the thing, well, what if I'm not giving my body what my teeth need to last that long? Because they can. So
honestly, it's like the last, 50 years?
Yeah.
100 years, maybe. I'll give it that we've been living past 55. My husband and I were talking about that last night because, we're of that age that we would, and we're looking back at our lives and thinking, so many things could have taken us out that we now have the medical technology to fix. My husband as a pacemaker.
Yeah.
It would have been done.
Yeah. Yeah. It's amazing.
Endometriosis. I would have been done.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So that was like kind of my first question. And then the second one was kind of a strange one where my husband is background in environmental sciences and music. So he's got this weird eclecticness. But he discovered in college, they started connecting the growth hormones they were putting in chickens and girls getting their periods earlier and developing earlier. And so then they were kind of like, okay, that's all that his research showed. Well, I happen to be in MOPS, Mothers of Preschoolers. I think they're called something different now. But anyways, about 10 years ago.
They didn't like the acronym MOPS.
I don't know. It's appropriate for a mom.
Shocking.
But anyways, so they were talking about cancer, and they just said, and it was just, nurses or somebody coming to speak, right? Somebody random. And then they just said, hey, triggers or things that they knew about it were they didn't know why the girls were getting their periods earlier, but those that got their periods earlier had a higher risk of cancer. And I was like, oh, I know that answer. And so I was like, I can't believe that I, as a youth director, so my background is in youth ministry, right? Science is not a part of it. But me as a non-science girl was like, I just connected these dots. Hello. Why were these health people not connecting that? Why don't they know it? So anyways,
They're sometimes you're too close to something.
Yeah.
And that's why we had many interns, and I would always say, like, say something, because what you're thinking, like, we're all so close to our work, having an outsider's perspective come in and point out something that's just so obvious. Like, it's nobody's fault, but it's nice that if we can have these collaborations. I think we used to be more collaborative as a society. But anyway.
So I'm excited though that people are starting to ask the questions, because really I'm so thankful for modern day medicine, but often some of the things that were prescribed mask versus make solutions, and so they're not finding the root of the problem. And that's really what I want people to feel. I mean, it's going to take some work, but I want them to find the root of their problem. And some of them are diving in, and they can't get over, like, if they're willing to switch off certain things, and they're willing to, sometimes they have to eat keto or carnivore for a little while, or work on just some veggies or Whole30 or whatever, but to weed out and then to build up, or to really strengthen those probiotics. But that there's a lot of things that we just don't need to be eating that our bodies have a hard time with too. So just even cutting those out, right? So anyways, I get excited about that. And I'm so excited that meats can be so nutritious and so healthy. And it really is. So I just get excited about that. Like the overall health of our animals, and their flavor then also goes off the charts when you put them on pasture. So we are honored to have been found by Kristen Butterworth. She was the chef at Lautrec, the 5-star restaurant at Nemacolin. So she's the one that really actually was the catalyst that helped us launch. But now we're a part of, I think, around, we're from 15 to 30 restaurants I'm delivering in Pittsburgh every Thursday. And Altius is one of them, which is one of the top 100 restaurants in the nation now. So we're just honored because the flavor is, outstanding because of the way we're raising them too. So kind of hit both things. The moms that are ready to heal their families, and the restaurants that just want unbelievable flavor. So
that's great.
Yep.
And you've been involved in the keto, and like I made a comment earlier that I'm not into like the trendy things, and I think the basic eating, but I guess it helps to have a label for something when someone says, "Oh, this is how I eat." Like, if you ask anyone, do you have a dietary restriction?
Yeah.
Having a label for it is very helpful. Vegetarian, vegan, keto, whatever.
Yeah.
So tell me why you're using those terms and you're involved in that sort of, I don't know, I guess, I don't want to call it marketing. What is it? You're involved in that kind of...
a lot of, so in every business you have an ideal customer, right? And so when I think of my ideal customer, my mom, who is my ideal customer, is trying to solve the problems of her kids and her family, whether it be an autoimmune, weight, acne, like all of those, right? Even some asthma, diabetes, like she's thinking, this pill is not my answer. And so sometimes some of the higher fat diets really can help on that when you're lowering carbs and sugars. And so keto kind of encompasses that, but no, anything that is heavily processed is not going to be good, right? Even the keto sugars or any of those, right? It's just not going to be great. But if you can get back to some of those whole foods, it's just so good. So, but I recommend also taking steps with somebody. Like if you're struggling through an autoimmune, you need some help with that. So usually a naturopath, even the chiropractors can point you into some great spots. Because sometimes I have a really good friend who owns Maywood Grill on the mountain. She is just awesome. Her name's Casey. And she and I connected about 8 years ago. And it was 30 and had an autoimmune, and it came out in arthritis. But she was 30. And the doctor said, "Hey, take this pill for the rest of your life." And she's like, "I'm 30. I shouldn't be taking a pill for the rest of my life." So she actually chose to visit a gentleman in Monroeville. I believe his name's Dr. Cole. And he had her on a really strict diet. But within a year, she was down to no pain in her joints except for a pinky. And it was all diet driven. And there were some veggies that she had to cut out, like some nightshades and things like that. So there can be a little bit more than just getting back to whole foods and needing somebody's wisdom and their training, right, to help minimize all that she needed. But she's doing amazing. So that was really exciting to watch her path go through that, because my family had not struggled with something quite that intense. So, yeah.
Yeah, joint aches will wreck you.
Oh, yeah.
It's terrible.
But how cool that she was willing to recognize it and say, I shouldn't be on a pill.
Yeah.
I am 30. Right? Then do the hard work, because this gal was used to eating cake for breakfast, right? And so she had to switch her dietary things. She did fall in love with my pork chops. And I told her, I was like, hey, you're allowed to buy my pork chops, but you have to eat the fat off of the pork chops. You got to sear them really well and eat them. And she was like, okay, I will. I got her to eat my pork chops. So
yeah, the fat.
Anyways, it's so good. Oh my word!
I still
Nothing
have
better
friends
than
that,
the grill.
like, we had a friend over. We were talking about fat, and my friend's like, well, you shouldn't eat too much fat anyway. And I'm like, okay, I'm not gonna correct.
That was actually in 1980
all the time. Maybe it shouldn't be your complete diet, but
right. They had that as a food pyramid. The food pyramid is actually when diabetes shot up and weight shot up. So let's just look at that. All right. So do your research on when people were really taking off on weight and diabetes, and it's when the government came out with the food pyramid. So,
but people also didn't listen to the food pyramid because they ate a lot of sugar. But
that's true.
The food industry,
but the sugar
didn't
also
follow that, and the food industry added sugar. So they took out the fat. Right. But they added the sugar. And
correct.
Those are two at the same point of the pyramid. So,
and I just learned that actually your body can distribute the sugar slower. You know how they talk about sugar spikes? If you have a high fat with it, so like a custard or so I have a lot of eggs right now, so making a lot of good custards, right? But also good ice creams where you're using really high fat ice cream or the milk and the cream, that lets the sugar release slower versus a sugar spike. Now, yes, we need to minimize our sugar, but when you're enjoying that sugar, you want it with something high fat. So I thought that was pretty cool. And that's something I just learned. I follow the podcast Nourishing Traditions from the Weston A. Price. And so that's something that they had mentioned. And I was like, that makes sense to me. So anyways, but yes. So the other thing I want to say on fats is breast milk. I heavily believe in breastfeeding babies, but my breast milk for my kiddos would have been super high fat because of brain development. And so when we're struggling with brain cloudiness and all of those brain things, really, I think it is a loss of fat. Now, I want them to eat the right fats, right? I am not talking about the canola oils. I am not talking about vegetable oils. I am talking about things that can be made in your kitchen. Fats, right? Like I can render my chicken fat, my duck fat, my lard and my tallow. I can render all those and use those for cooking or in other ways, right? I cannot make canola oil or vegetable oils without a heavily scientific process. I don't believe that we should be eating it. So if you can't make it in your kitchen, I don't want you making it. The one exception, I have no clue how to do it for coconut oil, but I understand that I can make coconut oil in my kitchen, but I don't know how. But anyways, so that would, like when we're thinking about fats, there's got to be that separation of something that's naturally available to us versus something that's a heavily extruded process. So,
yeah. And sweets, sugar is the same way, like sugar, but like maple syrup. Like I'm eating maple syrup. It's real maple syrup. Has, what am I thinking of? Minerals and different things that your body needs. So when you eat that corn syrup laden, mass-produced syrup, right? Quote. Yeah. You're not getting the benefits, and you're just getting the sugar, and you're not even getting the sugar. You're getting corn syrup, which is a highly processed product, which our bodies don't know what to do with. So
Similar with fruits, right? The goal would be to eat the whole fruit versus fruit juices, right? Fruit juices actually can if you're feeding them too much to young children, right, that can be a cause for tooth decay and things like that because they're getting so much sugars. Even on, organic, right? It's still sugar. The whole fruit is a little bit better because you've got the fiber that help to digest it. So I get excited about how food can heal. And I think you're right about the sugars. Sucanat's another it's the original form of sugar. I believe I'm saying it right, sucanat. It has all of the minerals in it. So it doesn't look pretty like sugar because they've taken all the minerals out and made it white. Right? They keep the minerals in for the sucanat. I'm actually a part of Azure Standard, and it's like a drop-off point of a Whole Foods, but it's even a little bit more back roots. The guy looks like an ex-hippie, right? But they're from Oregon, and they drive trucks all the way through.
No,
so
hippies are always hippies. There's no ex.
Okay, he's wonderful.
He's just a hippie.
I'm not sure if you can get it at Whole Foods or Trader Joe's. I do not shop at those spots, so I'm sorry, I don't know. I usually get mine on
the co-op.
That could be. The East End certainly could possibly have sucanat. But yes, you're right. Like honey, all of those natural sugars, because they have great benefits as well. Now, one thing that I challenge myself, I've never been quite able to do it, but we do tap our sugar trees. And I wanted to one year say, okay, this is the only sugar we have. It's just these 2 gallons. That's it. And when you think about it, then you're really excited about that special sugar. And you never syrup swamp, right? You're never like, oh yeah, let me just syrup swamp my pancakes. I warn people when they come over, I'm like, oh no, you get small amounts. Because that is valuable stuff. When you make your own, you're really thankful for the process.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, all that said, we are very fortunate to live in a world where we have access to so much of so much.
Yes.
And if we were to eliminate all the non-food foods out there,
yes,
or non-edible
or
the edible foods, edible non-food stuff.
Yeah.
If we were to eliminate that and just eat the real food, we still have access to all the good stuff, even if you don't have to make it in your own kitchen. But it's nice to limit yourself.
You're right. Yeah.
Oh, what a world.
Yep.
So where did you grow up?
So I actually grew up in Central West Virginia. My dad was kind of moved up the ladder in different colleges. So Buchanan and then Elkins and then Bethany. So I moved around a little bit. My husband is from Erie. So he's an Erie boy. All of his family's still in Erie. He's the only black sheep. And we're, I don't think I said where the farm was, but we're way down. We're right by Nemacolin and Woodlands. We're actually only 10, 12 minutes away, right on the West Virginia PA border. We're in PA, in Gibbon Glade. So he's the one that's...
I'm just in PA.
Yeah, I'm just there. So he moved from the top of the state to the bottom of the state. So
are you guys like midway between your hometowns at your farm?
No, well, my parents kept moving around. So they went to Iowa after West Virginia. So they're actually closer to where we are in Maryland. And then his mom is still in Erie. So
cool.
Yeah.
So your products, you got chickens, cows, pigs, turkeys, ducks. Do you raise vegetables as well? Do you grow vegetables?
I do, mainly for my restaurant. So I do, I work with some partner farms on some heirloom tomatoes, but then I do cherry tomatoes, herbs, and edible flowers. And sometimes I'll have a couple other extra things, but I just kind of mainly cater to some of the restaurants were like, hey, we're having trouble finding these things. And so we'll try them, or I'll have one of my partner farms try and see if they work. Because sometimes chefs they're wonderful, but they have these great ideas of things that don't grow here. Right? So you try it one year and then you're like, it didn't work. Sorry.
Oh, so climate change.
Yeah. You're right. Oh my goodness.
I mean, because all of these animals, you're talking about the waste from those animals is really good fertilizer. Have you gotten into that sort of market to share that?
So, well, not unless you're coming to clean out my barn. But No, we
That
clean
could be
out.
a really valuable offer.
It could be. We take our, so the chicks that are brooding in our brooders right now, we have peat moss down. And so we will take that, and at the end of the season, it will go onto the garden in my high tunnel before my egg layers come in as a base of bedding and dry bedding. And so that then next year is fallowed, which means I don't grow anything on it, but I will till it under and I'll move it around just a little bit. And then the following year, I usually grow my tomatoes on it. So my high tunnel moves from location to location. It's my winter housing for my egg layers, because the one thing about pastured animals, you got to make sure they have dry spots in the winter, but you still want them outside, right? It makes for a hardier, better animal, just like all of us. If we're outside in the winter, that is super good for us. But I need to make sure they have a dry spot. And it is amazing if I can close up my high tunnel on those super cold days when it's like 2 below and it's sunny out. You walk into the high tunnel, I'm like, oh, everyone should have a high tunnel because it's 40 degrees in there. And my chickens are just happy as can be because they're fluffing themselves in the dirt and they're, running around. I've got all sorts of roosts for them, and oh, it's wonderful. So, but when it's muddy, it's not as much fun.
Yeah.
So,
yep. And for those of you who think 40 is cold,
oh,
maybe you haven't experienced
10
degrees.
Yeah. When you're a 2 and you go to 40, you think it's a heat wave. Yeah.
That's nice.
So yeah, we do use our animal compost, and usually that is the best sequence. Like, it is so good for animal compost. The other day when we had all this rain about a month ago, which was crazy amounts of rain when Pittsburgh was flooded, we went out and we had just gotten our new egg layers, and they were out, and so they were doing fine, but all those feet created a muddy mess. Well, underneath their feeders, I picked up and moved them, right? We were moving them forward, getting them out of the mud and forward, and there were thousands of earthworms. I was like, oh, it's working. This is working. It was so exciting. And I can't remember the goal of what you want for a healthy land, but is it 1 million to, but I can't remember the footage or the acreage.
You take a square foot or a cube foot
and see how many are there.
The worms. Yeah.
Oh, but it was so exciting because, and that was where the pasture was, not where my garden was. So, but it was so exciting because the pasture has been rotationally grazed for the last 10 years. So the chickens are rotationally grazing and the cows rotationally graze in front of them to shorten the grass for the chickens. And then, they get the great benefit because after the chickens were there and it grows amazing grass again, then the cows get to come back through and eat it. So yeah,
it's a whole cycle, and I love it. That's really great that you get to witness that, you get to shepherd that.
Yeah.
And you get to preserve that.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
It is exciting.
And I want to say thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, we're honored to do it. We want to leave this earth better than when we found it, right? Because we want future generations to have this amazing soil to be able to continue to nourish their families as they go forward. We can never know what the future holds, but that's our goal. And with so much farming using sprays and chemicals that just kill all the microorganisms as well as the worms and the spiders and the flies. I mean, we're going to need those spots that are better than, because they're, So anyways, I don't want to be a part of that farming. I really want I want this ground to be so much better and more enriched, right? I want that microorganisms to flourish from our care. So, and then resiliency, right? So that causes us to be resilient to droughts and also to flooding, right? My ground is going to hold, with that organic matter, my ground is going to hold so much more because it acts like a huge sponge. And then when it's in drought time, it's going to slowly release that, right? Versus just being a runoff, or versus just being dry and not having any moisture. So there we go.
That's great. And for future iterations of your animals too.
Yes.
That's going to increase them, and it's just going to continue to get better.
Yep. Yep.
So how do you handle, like, you farm meats, and in order to do that you have to kill animals? So how do you reckon with that?
Okay, so one, we're always really thankful for a life, right? And the idea that these animals, there's a sacred part of this where we are thankful for their sacrifice so that we can continue to sustain, right? And that should be honored and cared for. We do process chicken on farm, and turkey and duck. And then we have this unfair advantage where our butcher is right down the road, not even a mile away. And so we hook up the tractor to the trailer, and pigs and cows head on over there. And so they have a very short ride, very low stress. But yeah, we're thankful for their sacrifice, and that's the way it needs to stay, because then it keeps it in balance. If I'm ever not thankful, it would be trouble, right? Because we're thankful. But I want to utilize every part of the animal too. So we want to not be wasteful. We want the bones for bone broth. It's so good for people. The organ meats are so healthy, right? The fats, I want to render the fats and use the fats. So we don't want just the choicest meats, if that makes sense. Yeah.
Pigs aren't just bacon.
No, there's a lot more. Yeah, so that's exactly what we want.
So how can people find your products?
So the easiest way to find us, we have an online ordering system. You just go to footprintsfarm.com, and from there, that will show you us. I would love for people to sign up for the, I send out like a weekly informational. My goal is to continue to heal them in those emails. So I talk anywhere from, deals that are going on to how to heal your belly with, certain things. But simply go on to the shop button, and then it will bring you to my online platform, and you can just simply put something in your cart. It will prompt you to choose a pickup location. I have pickup locations all around Pittsburgh, as well as Connellsville, Uniontown, and Morgantown, West Virginia, and then on farm. So you just find the one that's closest to you. That we do offer some home deliveries too, as long as you're kind of within those areas, right, when I'm coming through. So click what you would like, and then you would also pick the date. So you'll see the next couple times, but I usually rotate every 4 weeks. So I'm at a drop location. So today I am at Dormont and Jefferson Hills, and then I'll be back there in another 4 weeks. So orders are due by Sunday, just because it takes a lot to get all these orders pulled and ready, and then we'll come and meet you on Thursday. So, yeah.
That's great. Mm-hmm. Is there anything that I haven't asked you about that you want to share with people?
I think maybe I'll just challenge people. Like, so many people love what we're doing, which is really exciting. But often they love it, but aren't willing to support it. And I don't want to just say for me, but I would say I would challenge them to look at your food budget and $150 a month and find a farmer. It does not need to be me, but find your farmer and figure out a way that's convenient for you to find that farmer and get those things, because then you are keeping them going. Because this, just like any business, I've got to make sure I make it and I do well with it for me to be able to keep going. And so if you're excited and you spend $100 a year, that's great, but that's a little bit harder to build a budget on than if you're willing to do that $100 or $150 a month for your farmer. Look into local CSAs, anything where you're directly connected. And then I will also challenge and just ask them, when you're at a farmer's market, don't be afraid to ask the farmer what the animals ate and how they were, your veggies were sprayed with. Because if they can't answer that, they might not have raised it. And so just be careful of that, and don't be afraid to ask them, because your right farmer will love to answer you.
Yes.
Even if it's me and I'm like, you know what, I don't know my full food ration for my pigs. And it's true, I don't. But can I get you the answer? By golly, I can.
You can get them
that's
much
right.
information, I'm sure.
Yeah, I can.
But yeah, I think that's
that would
common
be
thing. People don't think that farmers want to talk about the process because they're too busy. There are too many people.
Right.
But farmers love to engage, and that is their social time, because usually they're isolated out on the farm and they don't talk to anybody except other people on the farm. So engage them, yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And well, that, and it's amazing how many people we're aware of that use language like us, but their farming practices are very different. And so you just want to know what you have, and you want to make sure it's what you think you're getting versus, oh, they're a pastured farm too, it's wonderful. Or, oh, they don't use any sprays, when you're like, oh, well, just ask them, right? Just, if it doesn't matter to you, that's okay. Just keep supporting local. But I don't be afraid to ask them, because your right farmer will love to engage you in those questions, and will love to educate you on their practices, what they spray or don't spray, how their health care for their animals, right? All of the above.
Also, when you're looking at your budget, I was thinking, like, a lot of people take supplements.
Yes.
And when you start getting the right vitamins and minerals and all of that, the supplements aren't necessarily necessary.
Correct. Yeah.
So you can take all of the money you're spending on that and put that towards, so if you're rehashing, and there are a bunch of other things that you can probably skim from.
Correct.
To put towards real food, because the real food is going to be the thing that makes your body function best.
Right. Yeah. It is kind of neat when just understanding so many people that have switched diet stuff, right? When you think about filler foods, they would be the chips and the breads and things like that, where the cereals, where it's really quick, but then you are hungry within 2 hours, right? And one thing, I'm not strict keto right now, but when we were strict keto, it was amazing, because you weren't really hungry until 2 the next day, right? And so some of that, there's a longevity of, like, you're just filled, your body functions well, and that protein is a long-lasting protein versus a quick fix of hunger. So that it definitely can, and you're just getting so many of those good nutrients. I want people to be well fed and well nourished. I'd say that we are overly fed and undernourished. So
that's a good way to put it. Yeah.
Yeah.
With the keto diet, was that the Atkins diet back in the day? It was all meat and fat. No carbs,
I will, so it's low carbs, high fat. But I want people to find that. I love vegetables.
Quality fat is.
Yes, that's what I really want. Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Ellen. I really appreciate it.
I love time with you. Thank you so much.
With Bowl and Spoon is written, produced and hosted by Shelley Danko Day. Original theme song was written and performed by Paul LeBreeze and Friends. You can listen to With Bowl and Spoon wherever you get your podcasts. Don't forget to subscribe, like, review and share. Follow us and send us questions or messages on Facebook and Instagram at With Bowl and Spoon. Thanks for listening.